Mhm.
And we're live. So, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 72 of the Technology for Good show. My God, we're getting on. We're getting on.
I know.
We've had a bit of a rest, a bit of a hiatus. 3 weeks since we've been on. In part because of travel schedules. I chose Friday for this show because it's the day I'm least likely to be traveling, and then it just so happened that I had 2 events in a row which were on Fridays. The Tesla World event 2 weeks ago, and last week the Monktoberfest event. So it's just one of those things. It's always like that. And the week before, my computer broke down, and you were unavailable that week as well, Chris. So we've had 3 weeks of no show, and for that I apologize. I do. Very bad. But we're back. We're back with a bang. We're back with a bang. And I'll just do a quick intro of myself. Tom Raftery. Anyone who doesn't know, I work for a company called Red Monk. I'm an industry analyst. I look at technology, energy, that kind of thing, sustainability. And Chris, who are you?
I'm Chris Kernan. I'm a principal consultant at Bluefin Solutions. I'm an SAP mentor. I work in the SAP technology space and just have a great love of technology and the good that it can do and things like that. So, yeah.
And Chris, you're wearing an Under Armour t-shirt there, or polo shirt, or t-shirt or sweatshirt.
Our SAP mentors. This is the 2014 shirt. So we'll see what the 2015 shirt is next week.
Is it connected in any way?
No.
Just regular, not an IoT shirt.
It's not an IoT shirt.
Maybe the 2015 one will be.
I certainly hope so.
That's a thing Under Armour are into, isn't it? They're big into connecting their clothes.
Yeah, no, they are. They're mad for it. There was an article, I think it was last week, where somebody in Under Armour, I think it was one of the chief data scientists, came out and said that they are sitting on a massive amount of data.
Of data, of course they are. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know it was Forbes. So Under Armour's Kevin Plank. Forbes came out and said Under Armour is Silicon Valley's latest threat because when they start to put in the IoT and then you factor in how many actual fitness apps Under Armour have bought over the last number of years. So I think they own Endomo, MapMyFitness, and things like that. So there are some fantastic brands under the Under Armour label. All of them related to fitness and wearables and fitness apparel. So there's some fantastic stuff coming out there.
So maybe next week when you get the new Mentor t-shirt, hopefully it'll have some connectivity built into it.
Don't know, can't say, couldn't possibly comment. It's a volunteer program.
Susan Cocaine is just telling us that she doesn't want the shirts connected.
I know. There's such thing as too much data. But no, I think it would be pretty cool. But it is a volunteer program, so we.
It is, and I'm sure you can control who gets to see the data. No, I mean, I don't know. I haven't. I mean, you. Yeah. We'll move on. We'll move on. Let's get mired down in that one. So we'll head into the stories, and the first for people who are not familiar, we always start with bad news, one bad news story, and then head into the good news. Yeah. And the first story, we'll stick with the format. It's worked well so far. Is a bad news story, and it is about how there's massive coral bleaching taking place across the oceans, particularly in the Pacific, and it has a lot to do with El Nino and the El Nino effect, raising the temperature of the already warmer waters in the Pacific. And that causing massive bleaching of corals, or helping to cause it. We're seeing that they have a map of it. The photographs of it there, you can see it's completely bleached. You have a map here from the NOAA from a couple of days ago, and you can see there in the map, all around Australia, all the Pacific there, and even some of the Atlantic. That's the effects of the bleaching of the coral, and of course, coral is incredibly important for for fisheries, for fish life, for the whole ecosystem, and when you start to see the fisheries, or sorry, the corals die off, it has a huge effect. So this is kind of worrying. And
is it about 20%? Is it about 20% of the world's marine biodiversity is in coral reefs?
27.
27%, and it was something like that. It's insane. Whenever you consider how little of the actual ocean they actually account for, because obviously they're quite close to the surface. Let's say 1% or whatever. That's a massive, disproportionate amount of an ecosystem in such a small space, and then whenever that's being destroyed, that's really scary. So it is.
It is. It is. No, it is very scary. It is. But anyway, we'll move on to better news, because there's plenty of that. We've a ton of stories to get through. It hasn't been 3 weeks since the last show, so and lots of great stories there. The first one, and this is actually, there's 2 stories on this, coming from different publications. So the Bloomberg, the big business. Big media business, Bloomberg, they've got an arm that looks at renewables. Bloomberg New Energy, they're called.
All right.
And they do a really good job. They've produced this report talking about how wind and solar have just passed a big turning point. And the big turning point in question is that wind and solar in several geographies are now cheaper than coal and gas. And it's a really good report. It talks about how you get a virtuous cycle. It talks about the capacity factor for fossil fuels. So the fossil fuels, well, let me backtrack for a second. A capacity factor for any kind of utility company or any kind of generation facility is the amount it actually produces as opposed to the amount it's rated to produce. So, if you think in terms of a solar power plant, it might have 100 megawatts of potential, but if the sun is only shining 12 hours a day, that you're immediately down to 50 megawatts. And then if there are clouds, some days you're down to 40, 30 megawatts. So your capacity factor there is around 30%. Fossil fuel generation facilities like, gas and coal and etc., they have, capacity factors in and around 70 and 80%. And the loss of 20 to 30% is for things like maintenance, etc.
Yeah.
So they're online most of the time. Or they were.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that this report talks about. It's because now renewables are increasing their percentage in the mix. They're affecting the capacity or the capacitance factor of fossil fuels. And the way that works is at a time when there's excess energy in the grid, more supply than demand, the utility companies will select for cheaper power. And because there's no purchasing required of fuel for the renewables, their purchase price will always be lower than coal and gas.
Yeah.
So now what's happening is as the amount of renewables in the mix goes up, they're selected far more than the more than the fossil fuels. Mm. Now suddenly, for the first time ever, the capacitance factor of fossil fuels is starting to decrease.
Yeah.
Which makes them less attractive.
Yeah.
So we had the first point is they're more expensive because now wind and solar are starting to be cheaper than them. And also their capacitance factor is starting to decrease. And you can see that leads to this virtual cycle that we have on screen here. As you get more solar and wind installed, you get the coal and gas plants sitting idle longer, which decreases their capacitance factor, their costs go up, which leads to more solar and wind installed, and so on and so on and so on. A beautiful virtual cycle there. So that's the first story that comes out of this Bloom report. The second one was picked up by the Washington Post, who went through this report in some considerable detail. And the links to all these are, as always, in the post. So on the Google Plus page here, I put in the links to all of the articles that we're going through today.
Yeah.
So as we always do. So the Washington Post goes through that report, and they start going through it in detail, looking at the costs per megawatt hour of electricity for the solars, for the wind, for the gas, for the coal, and particularly in Europe, we're finding that the oil, the coal, the gas are more expensive now than wind, and not more expensive than solar, but it won't be long because the cost of solar is dropping. So
actually, it's a pity they didn't put all this in a table. It would have been so much easier.
You're right.
To be consumed in a table.
You're right. And in fact, I should probably do that myself and stick it up in GreenMonk, because it would be a lot clearer. You can see coal-fired electricity, 75 per megawatt in the Americas. It's 105 in Europe. Gas is 82 in the Americas and 118 in Europe. And then when you look at wind, onshore wind now is 83 per megawatt. So 83 is obviously a lot cheaper than 105 for coal in Europe. And 83 is also, it's around the same as gas in the Americas, and it's a lot cheaper than 118 for gas in Europe. Yeah. So, and the thing about that is the costs of coal and the costs of gas, they're not going down.
No, they're not.
The costs of wind and the costs of solar continue to go down. So there is no way now investing in gas or investing in coal makes any financial sense for anyone.
Yeah. Well, the subtitle of the Bloomberg article is, "It's never made less sense to build a coal-fired power plant." And that's a bold statement. That's a big statement coming out from a firm like Bloomberg. Bloomberg, dare I say it, one of the vanguards of capitalism and free markets.
And so it's not like they're Greenpeace or someone like that. They're not like the guardians of the planet. They're the guardians of the pay packet, or the guardians of the wallet, if you want.
Exactly.
So having them come out in favor of renewables is awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's like there was a report we talked about a couple of weeks ago from Citibank, talking about how it was cheaper to work to mitigate climate change rather than to ignore it. It was something like 120 trillion was the cost of mitigating climate change, and 122 trillion was the cost of ignoring it.
Yeah.
So anyone who tries to tell you, climate change and working toward it isn't economic, they're obviously talking from outdated numbers, or they're just talking from their own.
Talking out of their hands.
Talking from their own cognitive bias.
Yes. Well, we all know Mr. Cruz really, really likes his cognitive bias. And his Tea Party as well. So, yes. It's funny actually. With the presidential race and things like that, there, the number of articles that I've read with reference to some of the candidates and some of the statements that they've made and their previous track records.
Oh, they're appalling.
Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah. But anyway, the Solar City.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I mean, we talked in the last story about how the costs of wind and solar are coming down.
Yeah.
And this is something we've mentioned on lots of previous shows. So regular viewers will be bored to tears from hearing us talk about this, but it's happened again. And sorry, I have to bring it up again, but yeah, the Solar City have a new record-breaking solar panel, which comes in at 55 US cent per watt. And you know, this is a new record. The efficiency of the panels can reach 22.5%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for solar is a lot.
Yeah.
Panasonic also announced this week that they've come out with one which is even slightly higher than that again. But
Seriously?
yeah, but they're not producing that until late next year. So I didn't link.
By any chance, does it?
Say again.
It doesn't have a defeat chip or anything like that. You didn't. So you didn't hear about Samsung. Samsung got challenged about their
TVs, their smart TVs,
their energy consumption of their TVs, which is nuts.
That's right.
Yeah, but Sue. I don't know if you saw it this week when you were away. Sue's actually having solar panels fitted either this week or last week.
It was last week or 2 weeks ago. That's right. Yeah, she tweeted about it or contacted me about it. Yeah, I saw that. That's great news. That's great news. I'd love to hear more about how that's going, Sue. So anytime you get a chance, ping us up on that one.
Absolutely.
But this is great because the Solar City ones are going on sale imminently. Whereas as opposed to the Panasonic ones, which they're talking about late 2016. So, Solar City may well have come out with an even more efficient one by 2016. So that's why I didn't bother linking to the Panasonic story, because I figured it was just them jumping on the bandwagon, trying to steal some of the headlines from Solar City. So, I mean, this is one of the amazing things about solar, that it just keeps getting better and better and better and better and better. And we see every week new headlines about how it's becoming more efficient. And every week we're seeing headlines about new breakthroughs in laboratories on solar. And the thing about that is that the breakthroughs in the laboratories take typically 3 to 5 years to translate into commercial breakthroughs and reductions in price. So that's going to just continue for the next 3 to 5 years at least, because we're still seeing stuff coming out of the laboratory every week. And similarly with storage. So the cost of storage are coming down all the time. The efficiency of batteries is going up all the time. The efficiency of solar is going up all the time, and the costs are coming down all the time. It's, and it's beyond anyone's wildest expectations, really.
No, it is. Well, Sue's actually come back to us and said, so it was Solar City. Solar panels are up but not turned on yet, waiting for the utility company to swap the meters.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's great to see using Solar City, and she's taking the lead. It's just the utility company dragging its heels.
I'm shocked.
I know. We'll say nothing. But we can quiz Sue next week as to what how it all went. That'll be good.
Yeah. Well, you can. I won't be there. I'll be. I'm not going to be in Vegas. The Tech Ed in Vegas. I'll be going to the one in Barcelona. So
yes.
Not Vegas. And Sue's just after posting on Twitter. So if you want to check out the Twitter hashtag Tech for Good, she's after posting a photograph there of the solar panels.
Yep.
So we'll move on. And the next story I thought was interesting was this one, where it lists a group of Fortune 500 companies who've pledged to use 100% renewable electricity. And it's this organization called RE, obviously for Renewable 100, and that's for 100%, short for 100%. So it's led by the Climate Group in partnership with the CDP, the Carbon Disclosure Project, to showcase influential businesses committed to 100% renewable electricity. And if you go over to the RE100 site, you'll see all the companies there. I mean, it's people like, as it says in the headline there, Goldman Sachs, Johnson & Johnson, Nike, Procter & Gamble, Salesforce, Starbucks, Steelcase, Voya, Walmart, and lots of others. SAP are in there as well. Yeah. The thing about it is a couple of issues with it. I mean, it's all great. It's good stuff. IKEA, Swiss Re, it mentions more of them further down here. And it's all reasonably good stuff. The one thing that kind of annoys me about it a little is the differences between the companies that are involved. Some of them have very hard targets.
Yeah.
And some of them less so. So I think to become involved in the organization, they should have made it tougher. because IKEA have very good targets, so does Swiss Re, so do Autodesk, but then you get Aviva, not too bad, 100% by 2025, which is pretty good. Some of them though are far more. If I go down to Salesforce, I think are the ones that had very soft targets for itself, but there's more of them there as well. It's not just them.
Yeah.
So Procter & Gamble, 30% of its energy from renewable by 2020, with a long-term goal to power its plants with 100%. But by when?
No, that's not.
And similarly with Salesforce, and there's a few of them there like that. You should have hard targets.
Yeah. And what's SAP? What's SAP? Because we both know. Was it Jeremiah Stone? He was the sustainability officer?
Yeah, it was Peter Graf.
Peter Graf, yeah.
Peter Graf was CSO, and he left. SAP, the company has already reached its goal of powering all facilities and data centers by 100% renewable electricity in 2014. That's true and not so true. So it's actually around 43%, if I remember correctly. And the other 56% comes from renewable energy certificates, which is fine according to the RE100 sites conditions. But frankly, I think that's not enough. I think they should go further. I think they should say, okay, you can use your renewable energy certificates to get to 100%, but you have to have a goal of phasing them out by 2020 or 2025 or whatever it is. And you need to set a date for your 100% goal, and it needs to be before 2030 at the very latest.
Yeah.
To be taken seriously, because anyone could say they're going to go for 100% renewables, but just we'll get to 100% renewables by 2500, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is it's quite when you look at companies, quite a lot of those companies they run their own data centers and things like that. There, SAP has a considerable number of data centers in Salesforce as well. So. They do consume an awful lot of power, and then you've got companies that have a large manufacturing base as well. Yeah. Again, that's all. It's I don't know. I think they should have harder targets. It's just for some people, it's going to be harder than others to reach those targets.
No doubt. But no one said this was going to be easy.
No.
The thing is, you have to agitate and you have to twist your utility company's arm. And it's when you start to do that the utility company will start to take you seriously. Yeah. Apple are after buying another 200 acres in Prineville beside their large data center there. And that's for expansion of the data center. They haven't said what it's for, but you can guess it's for expansion of the data center, but also for putting more renewables in place on the ground there. They've also bought facilities, or they're putting in place facilities in Denmark and Ireland, both of which they said are going to be 100% renewably powered from on-site generation and from local generation.
Yeah.
So, this kind of stuff is entirely possible. You just have to either do it yourself or twist the arm of your utility company. Yeah. And if you're a large company, and all of those Fortune 500 companies are large companies, you have the ability to twist their arm.
Yeah. No, you do. You absolutely do. Don't get me wrong. They
for the likes of Red Monk or Bluefin, it might be more difficult.
Yeah,
because we're a lot smaller and we don't have any purchasing power. But for the likes of the SAPs, the Apples, the Facebooks, and that, who are buying gigawatts of power at a time, no problem twisting arms of utilities.
Exactly. Okay.
So we'll move on to the next one. And Amazon had a kind of a blowout week this week. They had their event.
reInvent.
In Vegas, wasn't it? I assume it was Vegas. It's where all these ones are.
Yeah, no, it was Vegas. It's such a pity. Actually, I would love to get to it at some point, but the fact that it and Tech Ed are literally the week after each other. I can't spend that length of time in Vegas. Never mind the fact that you need to fund it, but spending 2 weeks in Vegas is just that's a tough sell to anybody.
Exactly. Totally get that. And they had a couple of interesting announcements. I mean, they have their reordering service, which is called its Dash Richmond service. And, up until now, it's been kind of a little side project almost.
Yeah.
With very little buy-in. But now they're after getting, several large household companies like GE, Samsung, Oster, and more.
Yeah.
To sign up for it. And they name some of them here. They've added 11 new brands, including GE, Samsung, August, Gmade, Oster, Obi, PetNet, Clever Pet, Sutro, Think, and Sealed Air.
Yep.
And, they're in addition to people like Brother, Whirlpool, and Brita, who are already there. Yeah. And what it means is that if you have any devices from Brita, Brother, Whirlpool, General Electric, Samsung, et cetera, those devices, if they're new enough, they can be, listening into their supply levels for, in the case of Samsung, it might be a Samsung printer, so they'd be listening into the supply levels of the ink in the inkjet printer, and when they reach a critical level, they can just go straight to Amazon and order new ink.
Yeah.
Similarly, Brita, if you've got a Brita jug, when the filter starts to be beyond its useful age, it can go and order new filters for you. The August ones are locks, smart locks on your doors. When they see the batteries are draining, they can order new batteries, and so on and so on and so on. General Electric is for the likes of washing machines. When they see you're running low on a fabric conditioner or a cleaner or whatever it is, again, it can order on your behalf, so that you never actually run out of stuff. It's kind of go on.
This is one of those things that I just have a bit of a problem with.
Yeah, it's a double-edged thing, isn't it?
It is, but it makes the assumption. So whenever you subscribe to something, right? So the Amazon subscription service basically means that they're setting the price and you're just blindly accepting it. And so if for example I'm buying the pool cleaner, for example, and it's $50 one season, so one spring, and then it rises to $100. Am I just going to blindly accept that and let Amazon just automatically order it, and then I take the hit on it? There's no interaction there to say the price has gone up. Let's do you still want to order it? And I think that's the problem for me. So it is.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. It's a very, very valid concern, particularly when you see the likes of Netflix jacking up the price this week.
Yeah.
By what was it? Was it 10% or something like that?
Yeah.
So if you're a Netflix subscriber, you just got fucking hit on the head by that. And when you're in a kind of subscription model, it's very handy because it's very easy, but you're also kind of captive as well. So you need to be sure that when you go in for something like that, you have an escape route.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But again, it comes back to this thing. You always have the great IoT thing, or the IoT thing that people come up with or did come up with was, the fridge. It'll order your milk for you. I don't need to order my milk. I have it on the road. It's not going to take me long to get milk. I like going shopping. I go shopping at the market every Saturday with my daughter, and we run around and have a great time. And then we do various things. We do some online orders and things like that there. I don't get it. I really don't. I'm sorry. I'm a stick in the mud. But this whole IoT thing for doing my shopping and sensors for things like that there, yes, there are some things like where I could see it being a benefit is actually on the car or automotive. So whenever my tires are getting worn or the oil needs changed and things like that there, I could absolutely see that. Schedule an appointment, tell me that you have to go to the garage next Saturday. There's an appointment booked for you. I would love that, but I don't need to go and buy stuff for me.
No, that's a very valid point. A lot of the stuff that's more hidden would be it would be great if IoT could surface that. As you say, the kind of milk in the fridge is a pretty obvious one. You know, you don't necessarily need that. I'm not a big fan of going shopping myself. I do most of my grocery shopping online, just because I don't have to go grocery shopping when I do it online. The local supermarket has a decent enough, I mean, it could be a lot better, decent enough online presence, so I can go on there, order the stuff in a lot faster than it would take me to go to the car. You know, drive there, fill a basket, and etc. It's a lot faster to do it online and just have it delivered the following day. So different people have different preferences on that front, though, and I totally get it. Like yourself, I'd have issues about having the fridge order my milk for me.
No, exactly. It's one of those things. I remember during the week.
You understand, Chris, that if you like going grocery shopping, you're a complete freak.
Well, I enjoy it from the point of view that it's Daddy-Daughter Day, so it is. So it's good fun, so it is. And
Daddy-Daughter Day could be going to the park.
Yeah,
that might be a lot more interesting than going down to your local Tesco and filling up a basket full of stuff.
Well, I don't go to Tesco's. No, well, we go to the farmers market. So we go swimming in the morning, and then we go to the farmers market. We get some lunch, and then we have we do our meat and fish and veg shop, and it's great fun. So it is, but you have to be really careful to put the heavy stuff in first, because when you ask Anna to put stuff in the bag, she grabs it and goes, and throws it in the bag.
Crash. Yeah.
There's not a lot of finesse there. There's not a lot of there.
Yeah. Totally understand. Been there.
Yeah, but so somebody made the comment that was very valid about Amazon are expanding their 1 hour delivery service.
And we're going to cover that as well, I think. Yeah.
We'll come to that later then. So
you're supposed to be reading the notes beforehand, dude. Come on.
It wasn't
Where's your prep?
No, we'll come to it later. But yeah, so it was. Sue definitely doesn't like grocery shopping. Grocery shopping, without fail, is the worst part of the weekend.
I think so too, and it's a huge waste of time. But we'll move on. So the next story, and there's a couple of stories like this out of Amazon this week. They've come up with some interesting stuff, and this one looks pretty good for anyone who is a mobile developer. Basically, Amazon have decided to take all the heavy lifting out of the back end for the mobile developers, which is a big deal. It really is. If you are a mobile developer, now a lot of the stuff in the back end, things like logins, all that kind of stuff, can now be handled for you. There it is. There's the slide there. User sign in, push notifications, app content delivery, data storage, app analytics, and cloud logic, all that kind of stuff. Now they've kind of got it as a kind of a drag and drop for developers, for mobile developers. That's huge. And not just that, they've launched this thing called Inspector, which is a tool which finds security and compliance issues, not just for mobile apps, but for any apps on AWS. So that's pretty cool as well. Again, for developers, getting all that kind of stuff automated and getting it done for you. I mean, there's so many security issues out there at the moment. Having an automatic tool which can just look for them for you is huge. It's really, really, really cool. The last thing, and you talked to this, is the delivery thing. And they've launched this thing called Flex, which they've just launched it in Seattle. It means that for people who have a car, for example, with some spare time, you can log in and say, I've got some free time. I'm happy to do the deliveries for you. And they're paying people who do the deliveries something like $18 an hour. I mean, it's not insignificant. It's decent rates.
Cool, actually.
There it is. It's between $18 and $25 an hour. So you can sign up, say, I have a car, I have a few hours between 8 and 10 in the morning. I'll go to your local logistics center, pick up a few things and drop them within my area. And, you can make some spare money. The stuff gets delivered that much faster. It's kind of a win-win all around in that front. It's a win-win for everyone except DHL and FedEx.
Yeah, well, does it hit that same spot? Does it hit that same grey area that Lyft and Uber have starting to fall foul of? Are they employees or what?
They're not employees. They're contractors in the same way that the Uber drivers are.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that there's been a lot of case laws being generated at the moment as to whether they are, whether Uber drivers really are contractors. So
true, and I suspect some of that will revolve around the number of hours a week they spend doing this stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So like I said, if it's that kind of 8 to 10 in the morning kind of person or whatever that I was just throwing in there as an example, then it'd be hard to say that they are full-time employees. But if it's someone who's doing it 9 to 5, then yeah, you've got an issue there, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. But that actually is a pretty cool idea. So that is actually a pretty good idea. The one that a friend of mine commented on was the 1 hour delivery, and he said, basically what actually, why do I need a 1 hour delivery? If I needed it that quickly, I would just go out and buy it.
But if you went out to buy it, it would take longer than an hour. By the time you get in the car, drive to wherever, find parking, find the thing in the shop, pay for it, get back in the car, drive home. You've gone over the hour.
No, your personal circumstances on it. Most of the 1 hour deliveries are in places like London. So they are.
That's even worse. Trying to find parking in London is a fucking nightmare. It's going to take you 10 hours to do it there.
Walk. Don't use your Prius. Walk.
Oh. Someone's making a noise in the background there, Chris.
Somebody's very unhappy. Give you.
Did you see Corrine Tillison's comment there about having a fridge that would order beer? I think she might be right on that front. The milk thing, not as important, but beer is definitely a priority. If I thought the beer was running low and the fridge could order it for me, that right there, that's something I could buy into.
Yeah, but you'll be ordering hipster beer, though. Let's be honest.
No. Based in Seville, there's no hipster beer available. But the local beer here is called Cruz Campo, and it's actually quite quaffable. So it is, yeah, it is. It's owned by Heineken. So despite that, it's actually quite a nice beer. They haven't interfered too much. And for the climate we have here, it's a light, not a light beer. Sorry, it's a beer you can drink in warm weather.
Yeah.
So it was yes, it was designed for that marketplace, and it's also got a bit of a bite to it because several of the beers here in Spain, the likes of the Maus and the San Miguels and stuff, are just they're like Budweiser. There's no flavor at all. They're ineffectual. Cruz Campo's got a nice bit of a bite to it, so it's actually, like I say, quite quaffable.
Good.
Even for a beer snob like myself. So yeah.
But the thing about it is,
and by the way, you're in the minority here, Chris, because Tammy's come on as well and said she's not into the whole grocery shopping thing either. So Sue, Tammy,
I know.
You're in your own there. The whole shopping thing. You're just a freak, like I said earlier.
I know. I'll have to tell you a story about going shopping with Lorna one time and a bag of sugar. It was hilarious.
Alrighty. I look forward to that. We'll push on because there's a ton of stories and we need to get through some of them.
The way through.
Yeah. There's still a load of them to go. So we talked about the shopping one. And now as I try desperately to find out which is the tab I need to move on to, I think it's this one. Yes, it is. So IoT, Amazon and IoT. So everyone and their uncle are getting into IoT, the Internet of Things. And the dog is barking. The delivery is obviously coming. Amazon have launched an IoT platform. And I see we've got a visitor there. Let me just.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Hello.
Hello. You gonna wave?
Hey, yeah.
Easiest way to keep her quiet.
Good on you. Good on you. So the Amazon IoT platform story. Again, I mean, it's a pretty obvious one. Amazon have got a massive data store. Plus, they've got a lot of stuff in the background, databases, networks, the whole thing. So the idea is that if you have IoT stuff, you can start pushing all that stuff into AWS, and then AWS can route it to wherever. And they do it at a reasonably inexpensive price. I mean, the thing is pretty phenomenal. If you look, they have it down the bottom here. So you get a free tier of 250,000 free messages per month for 12 months, and thereafter, and if we look at the European pricing, it's $5 per million messages in Europe. Similarly, in Oregon and East and Asia is $8 per million messages. So, you know, it's inexpensive and it's got a lot of stuff going on at the back end as well. It looks to be, you know, quite a serious offering.
Yeah, no. Well, the thing about it is that, you know, like it makes sense. I think Azure have a similar. They have an IoT platform as well. I think this is one of the areas that Amazon haven't led, but certainly it's you know, looking at those prices, it goes back to that one thing. The worst thing you can be in this type of scenario is successful, because it costs you an awful lot of money.
True. So I'm just looking at the tweet stream there, and Corinne is saying that her dogs enjoyed my dog's barking, apparently. I didn't realize it was coming out that loud across the speakers, but there you go. It's, I guess, one of those things. We were talking about online ordering, and the reason the dog was barking was because the online order for the
beer has arrived.
Coffee, not beer. Yes. It was the coffee. I'd ordered. We have an espresso machine, so we buy it online, and sure enough, the delivery arrived just now. So yeah, the dog is Freddie. He's a great guard dog. He saves us every day from the murderous tendencies of all the delivery people who come, and he scares the crap out of them, which is great.
Absolutely. It is important though. Having a dog that's not afraid to make its presence known.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last 3 days we've had Securitas knocking on the door, ringing on the phone, offering us security systems, and each time I've just said to them, you know, I've got a guard dog, and he's pretty good. And while I'm saying this, he's barking away furiously in the background, and you know, they can't really argue. You know, so they've kind of gone off tail between their legs, as it were.
Yes. No, it is good. It is good.
Now, Amazon aren't the only ones who are doing an IoT platform. GE, as you said, Azure are in there as well. I mean, everyone's in there. Azure are in there, but also GE have their Predix platform, which, you know, is a big platform for their, you know, the likes of data coming off wind turbines, solar panels, jet engines, trains, all the kinds of stuff that GE are into. I mean, if you buy GE stuff, you don't have to use the Predix platform, but you can. And they're saying it's going to make them $6 billion in revenue this year. And if I remember correctly, they're talking about 15 to 20 billion by 2020. Yeah. Let's see if I can find it in the article there.
The amount of money.
There you go. They're going to triple it to 15 billion by 2020.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is an insane amount of money. And, you know, like all these things, you know, it's them talking about their own platform. So you kind of got to take it with a bucket of salt. But even so, I mean, they're going to have to report the numbers at the end of the year anyway. So, you know, we'll see if it comes up to that 6 billion that they're talking about. And it is going to grow enormously as well between now and then. So even if it doesn't come to 6 billion, even if it comes to 4 billion, and, you know, by 2020, it's up to 10 billion, that's still a hell of a lot of money.
But the thing about it is that it's not just the revenue they're making off the platform. It's the sensor data and the full product life cycle that they're getting out of that that's really, really important to them, because it does help them build better products.
Yeah.
And it also helps them build, you know, better maintenance schedules and things like that there through the use of predictive analytics. So not only do they get revenue from it, they also enhance the customer experience so much more, because the fact they can build these better products. You know, that's the cash. That's also the cash cow in that.
It's another virtuous cycle.
It is, absolutely, absolutely. You know, the more that they know about the jet engines and the metal, or, you know, any of the maintenance issues and things like that there, or because they have the sensors and because they've got better access to the data, they can do more with it and come up with ways of turning jet engines around in the maintenance cycles to keep the jets in the air more, so the airlines make more money and can keep, you know, ticket prices down and things like that there. It is a virtuous cycle. There is more you can do there.
Yeah. No, it's pretty awesome. Moving on, sticking with IoT, and we see and platforms, Google's Nest have released its Weave protocol for other connected devices to use. So Weave is the kind of communications protocol that Nest or Google have come up with for their IoT stuff. And one of the cool things about it is that it doesn't require Wi-Fi. It is its own protocol. One of the bad things about it is it's you know, proprietary. Yes, thank you. It's proprietary, but they've released the kind of APIs for others to use, so others can use it as well. It would be better, obviously, if they went with an open protocol, but, you know, instead of that, they've gone this route, which isn't too bad. I mean, they're allowing others to use the protocol, and one of the good things about it is that it's low energy, and it also what was the other big advantage of it? It doesn't require a hub. It doesn't require a separate hub.
Oh, so it's a mesh network.
Something like that. So, well, what it is that the devices themselves kind of become the hub. So, I mean, I've got Philips light bulbs, the Philips Hue light bulbs here, and they've got their own hub, which, you know, is a bit of a pain, because, you know, if every device you buy has its own hub, then you start running out of space on your router to plug all your hubs into.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go for a hubless system, like the Weave system, it makes a lot more sense and requires a lot less. I mean, each hub has its own footprint.
Yeah.
Not just taking up a port on the back of your router, but also
power, it has maintenance.
Exactly. And you can actually see the hub right behind you there. It's that kind of circular thing on top of the filing cabinet there.
Oh, yeah.
Like a hockey puck.
Yeah, got it.
That's the Philips Hue.
I always thought that was your router.
No, the router is the kind of the thing up behind it, kind of up, perpendicular to it there, behind it against the wall. And the black thing is the Wi-Fi. So the gray thing standing up behind it is the fiber modem.
Yeah.
And the black thing then is the Wi-Fi router. So that's my hardware setup for you right now. There you go. Alrighty, moving on. So the next thing that we saw, and as I said, there's a good few stories. The next thing that we saw is the Google Translate.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool, because, I mean, you know, we've all used Google Translate now and again, and it's very useful. But what you have to do is you have to copy and paste text out of whatever you're doing.
That's the right story.
Sorry?
You didn't have the right story. Yeah. No.
Okay. Okay, good. Phew. So yeah, with Google Translate, you have to kind of copy and paste the text out of whatever app you're in into Google Translate, do translate, and then read it and go back to wherever you were. Whereas now in Android, at least, what they're doing is, and you have to be, let's clarify this. This will just be in Android 6, which is the latest version of Android, which shipped last week, if I remember correctly. So for anyone who's getting a newer device or who is able to update their current device to Android 6, then this is relevant. And what it is that they're building Google Translate support into lots of the apps that are shipping on Android. So they're opening up the APIs so that other apps can use Google Translate. So and there's a couple of apps that are doing it now. TripAdvisor, for example, WhatsApp and LinkedIn are already supported, and there's going to be more. There's going to be more coming down the line, obviously.
This is one of the things that confuses me. So when we go back to the previous story about Nest and the proprietary protocol, and then we have openness coming from Google in this regard, there's something. I don't know, it does seem a little strange. Whenever Weave is a proprietary protocol and not an open protocol, I get a little bit concerned. So especially when it's coming from a company like Google.
Sure, but Google Translate is a proprietary protocol as well. They've opened up the APIs to it, but the same way they've opened up the APIs to Weave. I mean, it's... But
the difference is that Weave as a proprietary protocol is sending data throughout your entire house, okay, and beyond. Mm-hmm. So if you have that open, not necessarily open source, or you can have it source open, not open source. What you can actually do is you can have people looking for vulnerabilities within that.
That's fair point.
Actually make it a better product. By having a closed source, they're denying their customers the ability to have that independent check.
Yeah. No, that's a fair. It's a fair point. Yeah. No, totally agree. Moving on from that, I mean, that is cool. The thing about Android Marshmallow or Android version 6 is that you have to have one of the newest devices. It's not like iOS where you can just go and install it yourself on a device unless you're kind of really techie and have a reasonably decent recent device. So and you can see that from the share of devices which have even Android 5 installed on them at the moment versus iOS 9. It's disappointing, and I would prefer to see the Android devices be easier to upgrade to the latest OS, and I think a lot of that's held back by the mobile operators as opposed to anyone else. It is
a lot of it is held with the mobile operators. There's no doubt about that. It is a continual problem, but it's one of the trade-offs that Google made with Apple by making it so open.
Yeah.
The ecosystem fragmented massively, and it enabled hardware device manufacturers to fragment that ecosystem, which then means so much of it is so many of the updates are difficult to get out there. I'm actually considering getting the new Nexus 5X simply because it is absolutely up to date with Android.
And not the 6P?
6P is a little large. I think it's 5.7 in the hand. You know, I have little hands, Tom. I have little hands.
But you got two of them.
True, but I have enough problems walking and talking at the same time. Having a mobile device two-handed, walking and thinking about something is just a recipe for disaster.
In fairness, 5.7 does sound large. What I would say is see if there's anywhere you can try them out, because it was only when I tried the iPhone 6 and the 6 Plus that I realized the 6 Plus wasn't too big.
Yeah.
And that's when I plumbed for that. But, you know, had I not had a chance to try them out, I would have just gone for the 6, just out of pure being conservative, which, you know, isn't normally me. But, you know, you want to watch out for buyer's remorse.
Yeah, well, the only thing I have against the 5X is the fact there's only 2 gig of RAM in it, and you know, on my OnePlus that I have at the moment, there's 3 gig of RAM in it, and it zips along very, very nicely. So I am a little concerned, but the fact that it's pure Android, there's no bloat in it or anything like that. There, I think it's I think the 2 gig may not be a problem.
Sure. So, yeah, that makes sense. We'll power on because sticking with the kind of mobile world. I don't know. You can maybe help me out with this, Chris, because Apple with OS 9 built in the ability in Safari, which is the kind of default browser on OS 9. They built in the ability to have ad blockers work with Safari, which is pretty awesome. And this article in the New York Times goes through some of the ad blockers and talks about the advantages and disadvantages of using them. And it's an interesting article. You know, some of the disadvantages of using them are, you know, kind of more philosophical really than anything else, because, you know, a lot of media companies make their money now from serving ads, and if you have an ad blocker in place, you're denying them their revenue while at the same time consuming their product.
It's so one of my big pet peeves. So I read the Register quite regularly. It's it's an interesting publication, but one of the things that drives me nuts is down the side the two banners that occupy the entire page. So when you flick off and then you want to regain focus on the page, if you click the side, you end up with a banner ad. And
right.
But they are an entirely ad supported website.
And often these ads take over page, so you have to look around to find where's the X to get rid of the damn thing, or sometimes it's on a timer and you can't get rid of it for 10 seconds or whatever, and you're just stuck there staring at this stupid ad that you didn't want. And it slows down the page load, and if you're on a cellular network, it increases the page size. So when you look at that article, when you look at the page size of some of the, I think if I remember, it was something like over 20 meg of a page size on the New York Times. Yeah, and then when you put in the ad blocker, that drops down to like 4 meg or something like that. I've got the numbers wrong, but I'm in the right order of magnitude. Yeah.
The ones that kill me, the ones that I absolutely hate and despise, are the ones that introduce audio into your experience.
Video.
I don't mind the video. You know, there are some pages. You know, there's some pages where the thing is just in the corner. It's in sort of the additional stories, and they have this video in there, or they have this ad in there, and I don't mind the video playing because I'm on the desktop and it's all good. It's whenever it starts making noise and I'm in the office, and it drives me nuts. I hate it.
No, I totally understand. I'm just looking at because I didn't remember the actual numbers. I was wrong about the New York Times. It was a Boston.com website they talk about, and in the Boston.com website,
I saw that.
With ads, it comes in at 19.4 meg, and with ads removed, it measures 4 meg. So from 19.4 down to 4. So I was close enough. With depends on your ad blocker. With Crystal or Purify, it comes in at 4, and with one blocker, it comes in at 4.5 meg. And that translates into the page taking 39 seconds to load with ads and 8 seconds to load without ads. That's a huge difference. That's a huge difference. 31 seconds.
Another place where this hits people, it's mobile data. It's actually the when you're on a data plan.
Exactly.
That's a massive. You know, they're taking 5 times more data from your account with ads than without.
With ads. Yeah.
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 So
totally.
it wouldn't be quite so bad if the traffic was.
And imagine if you're roaming
differently. This is what my actual traffic is. This is what the ad traffic is.
Yeah, no. And imagine, like I say, imagine if you're roaming.
Oh, I'm not even going there.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, we'll plow on. More of a trivial story than anything else. Facebook have rolled out their 6 empathetic emoji. In other words, whereas previously on Facebook you just had a like button, you now have a series of emojis which are from left to right, like, heart, not sure where that one is, kind of love or hate or something like that, I'm not sure. That's obviously yay, shock, despair, and hate on the right there. I've used it because they've turned it on just initially for Ireland and Spain. On the website, not on the mobile site just yet. The mobile site is supposed to be coming in the next day or two.
Yeah.
So I like it. I gotta say, I do like it. And one of the reasons I like it is because there are lots of stories that you see that you want to say are important to you, but you don't actually like them. So you don't want to hit like, but you want to tell Facebook that it was important to you. So, it's where people want a dislike button.
Yeah.
And this is what they've come up with instead of just a dislike button. It's a way of telling Facebook, here's what I think about it. And there are lots of different reactions. I love it. I like it. I hate it. It makes me sad or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think it is. And it's.
Here they are.
What we have, if somebody's had bad news, for example.
Yeah.
You can't hit like, or you can't favorite it.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. And I always make a point of replying. If there's something like that, I always make a point of replying, say, like, I can't like this, but I just want to, yes, I know what you're going through, or something like that. And I think this expands that massively. So
it does. Several times I've left a comment with just the word dislike.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I do think that by not having the dislike button, I think it's really smart what they've done. Because so many people were afraid that the dislike button would be abused, and it can be so easily abused. This is a really nice thing that it's such a smart way of doing it. So it's a very, very smart way of doing it. But we shouldn't be surprised by that.
True enough. Karine is quoting you, by the way. If you saw that in the comments, she's quoting you as saying,
I know. I can't resist those apple crisps. They're literally just dried slices of apple, and they're so.
Hang on. Apple are making crisps now?
No.
The new iCrisps.
It's these ones, Kittylicious. So they're designed.
You're stealing your daughter's crisps.
No,
dude, no shame. Come on.
No, these are bought for me. My daughter has her own supply. I have this supply.
Yeah. Candy from kids, dude.
Don't ask my niece and my nephew. It's starve in my house.
All right, we'll move on. I saw this one as well, which I thought was phenomenal. I mean, you don't like hearing about kids needing prosthetics. That's just pretty nasty. But having an open bionics company, a company that publishes the 3D files for these online so that anyone can download and print them themselves, and producing designs like this which are themed around superheroes, and the middle one there is the Frozen princess one. Yep. And you got your Tony Stark one on the left there. Having those available and downloadable is just freaking awesome. It's just awesome. I mean, like I say, you really don't want to be hearing about kids needing prosthetics, but if they do, and if you can get prosthetics like these, which are controllable and printable, you know, it makes a huge difference. And you know, we've covered the Open Bionics before, and the kind of stuff they're doing, and it's all pretty impressive stuff. You know, they won loads of awards. They won Dyson Awards and stuff like that for their designs, but also then just going that extra bit and making them so freaking cool like this.
Well, I think that's the thing. They are cool. They look absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, like we saw it with, you know, the carbon fiber legs and things. They look cool as well. You know, it's you know, and the fact that some of the companies, you know, you have Disney, you have Marvel, you've got you know, are donating to this is absolutely massive as well.
It is. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. It's a win-win all around. It really is. It's fantastic. We'll keep going though, because we're well over time, and we still have a truckload of stories, so we'll try and rush through them. HP, speaking of open, have come up with an open switch, and they're building out an open switch community. HP are a printing and networking company, as we know, and you know, the whole printing side is kind of, you know, going through the floor. It's been completely commoditized, and it looks like networking is going the same way. So they're HP are getting into services more than anything else now, but they've seen the writing on the wall, and they've decided to set up this open switch community and open source the software which runs their switches, you know, which is phenomenal. They're not the ones. I mean, the Open Compute project has been doing this for a while. I think Cisco, if I remember correctly, are also starting to do this as well. So, you know, they're all starting to see the writing on the wall, and the age of proprietary software for switches is going away, and you know, not before time.
Yeah, I read a really interesting article. I think it was in Dig during the week about there's actually a Trojan going around at the moment that is actually fixing vulnerabilities.
I saw that. Tremendous.
Common routers and things like that. There, yeah. This is the type of thing that yeah, because it's open source and because it's you know, it's Linux based and things like that. There, we won't need that amount of, you know, we won't need this what is it, benevolent dictatorship or whatever, or this Trojan actually fixing stuff that embedded companies should actually have fixed years and years ago. You know, the most common routers and things like that are just so incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah, and I mean that makes a huge case for the likes of OpenWRT, you know, and what are the other ones? Tomato. Yeah, exactly. There's a few of them, and I installed them on routers before, and they work really well, and they're really easy to use and easy to set up as well. So if anyone has a router and is thinking about doing something like that, you know, I'd recommend taking a look at OpenWRT and some of those other open.
I'm going to put it on my Billion, because the software that came with my Billion router is just absolutely horrific. I've actually gone back to my Netgear. It was so bad. You
need to check the compatibility, obviously, before you do it. But yeah, it's a good idea if it is compatible.
Absolutely, no, I would do. I absolutely would do.
Moving on, Microsoft. So this isn't a huge story, but I thought it was interesting because this little box down here in the bottom right corner of this photograph, it's their Continuum product, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to plug in your phone to the box and then plug the box into a screen and into a keyboard, and suddenly you have your phone acting as a full-fledged computer. So you have your keyboard, your mouse, your screen all running from your phone.
Firefox tried this, didn't they? Or was it Firefox? No, it wasn't. It was. There's
bit of that kind of stuff built into iOS, because you've got the if you have an Apple TV, for example, you can do your airtime and you can mirror your iPad or your phone screen onto your television. Where this differs is that you've got your full operating system running on your screen with an external keyboard and mouse, and I guess the reason I put it up there is because it's a version 1.
Yeah,
and it speaks to me very much of the potential as opposed to what it's delivering right now.
Yeah.
In 2-3 years' time, what you'll have is this device, your phone, will be your computer.
It will be.
Because at the speed they're developing with, the latest version of the iPhone has got an A9 chip in it, which is the same chip that's in the MacBook Air. So
wow,
you've got the same chip running your iPad, running your iPhone, and running your low-end laptop. And it's only a matter of a couple of years before they start to surpass. And suddenly you'll have a chip in your phone which is equivalent to the same chip in your laptop or your desktop. And then you no longer need a laptop or a desktop. You just, you have it in your pocket, you put it on your desk. At the moment you need a box to connect them up. That'll go away. It'll all be wireless.
Yep.
And suddenly your compute device is the one that's in your pocket or on your wrist at all the time. You just come to your desk, it wirelessly connects to your printer, to your screen, to your keyboard, and you don't need a device in the middle.
Yeah. Well, that you look at what we do. I travel for a living. You travel for a living. Being able to have that flexibility is just absolutely unreal. It's one of those things that I've been waiting a long time for.
Yeah, and because we're now starting to save everything in the cloud, you don't need massive storage to do that. You just need a bit of compute and a bit of connectivity, and once you have those two, you're good to go.
Exactly. And if the worst, if it actually came to it and you needed something with a bit more grunt, you have VDIs, you have virtual desktop interfaces. Amazon now do virtual desktops and things like that. So
Correct.
you if you need something with a bit more grunt, then you connect to your open desktop and away you go.
Yeah. And speaking of needing things with a bit more grunt, thank you for the segue. So IBM have found a way of shrinking transistors. So for the last decade or so, the speed of the chips in our devices hasn't increased enormously. However, and that's because the space, we've been shrinking the space between transistors, but we've not got the gigahertz up there. We've reached some of the kind of physical barriers. But now, with these new carbon nanotubes that IBM have come up with, they've come up with a way of shrinking the amount of space required for transistors down even further. And it looks like we'll be able to get Moore's law to continue on well into the next decade. Now, the devices that they're making with these, this is research level stuff. The commercialization of this won't happen for another 5 years. But when it does happen, it ensures that, as I say, Moore's law will continue on out for at least 10, 15 more years, because we're now pack a lot more transistors, and there'll be carbon-based transistors onto chips. So go on.
It's fascinating because I can't remember what they used for the connection, but one of the things that was really interesting was Seymour Cray bet on gallium arsenide over silicon many years ago.
Yep.
And I think to remember, I don't think it was this article, but it was the same. It was about the nanotubes where they were actually using gallium as the connection between for the gates and things like that there. So it was a very interesting. There were two completely separate articles, and it just highlighted to me that just how far ahead Seymour Cray actually was. In many respects, absolute genius. But this is cool. If we can keep Moore's laws moving, then that's
and there's no reason why not. I mean, we're seeing all kinds of advances, not just in the chips, but also in storage and in photonics for moving the information around. So all the kind of places where we're having the kind of bottlenecks are being, they're being broken down. And yeah, no, it's there's no end in sight. There really isn't. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
And with that in mind, we get on to the next story, which is really mind-blowing stuff, because it talks about how an AI machine, an artificial intelligence machine, achieved an IQ test equivalent to a 4-year-old kid. And wow. This is an MIT story coming out of the MIT Technology Review. And I mean, when you start looking at the advances in compute and AI in the last couple of decades, it's on an exponential curve. And if you think about exponential curves in any kind of field, if you think of just adding numbers, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, there's not a huge difference between any of those. But once you start getting up into the millions, and getting the doubling happening there, it becomes incredibly significant, incredibly fast. And that's the kind of stage we're at now with AI and compute and intelligence, because for the longest time, the intelligence of computers was at the 1, 2, 4, 8 stage. It was very, very, very basic. But now with AI, we've come to a point where we've reached, at least according to this paper, and it is a paper, it's a peer-reviewed paper, we've reached a stage where we've got AI machines which have an intelligence, an IQ of a 4-year-old child. And even if that's not true, even if it's a 2-year-old child, or even if it's an outlier in terms of its intelligence, we're there or thereabouts.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is that the questions that it poses are natural language questions.
Yeah. No, but I mean, just bear with me a second on this line of thinking, because once we start getting to devices which are handheld, which have the intelligence of a small child, what it means is that 5 years on from that, we'll have handheld devices which are the equivalent of an adult.
Yeah.
And 5 years on from that, we'll have handheld devices which are the equivalent of the entire human race.
Wow.
Because that's how exponential works.
Mm.
It's not linear, it's exponential. So 5 years, handheld, small child. 5 years after that, handheld adult. 5 years after that, handheld entire human race. And God knows what happens 5 years after that. No, seriously, that's how it's going to happen. And it's this kind of concept is very difficult for people to take in, but it's the reality. That's how exponential leaps work. And the intelligence of the entire human race in a handheld device, 10 to 15, it's 10 to 15 years away at most.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. It's that kind of stuff is incredibly hard to perceive, and the kind of things we will be able to do with it are just amazing, just entirely beyond our current comprehension.
Yeah. But the other thing is that so how we actually use data and how we use how we think about things and stuff like that there is much different, and obviously the education system has found it difficult to keep up with that. We've seen articles around the fact that people's memories are changing. How we remember stuff and how we access information changes how we store information in our brains. That I don't remember too many numbers anymore because I have them in my phone. So
right. Outsourcing your memory.
Exactly. So when we get to these types of things, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that changes society.
True.
And then how we teach the next generation as well.
Yeah. Fascinating. It is. I mean, I've completely outsourced my memory to this device because I do things like I get to a car park, I park the car, take a photograph where the car is, so I no longer have to remember where the car is. You know, I could GSM stamp it as well, or sorry, GPS stamp it as well, but you know, it's easier, particularly if you're underground, it's easier just take a picture of the car and the number of the spot. And similarly, when I go to hotels, because I go to so many of them, because I go to a hotel, the first thing I do when I go to my room is to take a photograph of the number on the door. And that way I now have so now I know what my room number. Yeah, I do because I'm in a different hotel every week. So,
that's a good point. It is a good point. Yeah.
God knows what the number is, and I don't want to be carrying around a piece of paper with me. So I just take a quick photograph of the room number on the door, and that way at 3 o'clock in the morning when I've had a few and I'm heading back to the room and I'm weaving from side to side in the corridor. I just go about the phone and go, oh, I'm on the 4th floor. No wonder I couldn't find my room, or no wonder the key didn't work in that room.
Yeah, no, I've had that. That's embarrassing. So that's very embarrassing, especially when they open the door and go, "Will you just go away?" It's obviously not your room.
Haven't had that. Not yet, anyway.
I've only had it happen to me once, and yeah, that was not good. Thankfully, I was actually on completely the wrong floor. I didn't have to slink off to another room within their gaze.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So there's a tip for you now.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're moving into transportation, and China is building chargers to power 5 million electric cars by 2020. I mean, there haven't been 5 million electric cars sold worldwide yet, as far as I know. Or if there have, it's only around 5 million. I don't think there probably has been 5 million. And between now and 2020, 4 years, China are going to build chargers for 5 million cars, which means not alone are they going to build out the charger network, but they're also going to incentivize people to buy the cars. Otherwise they wouldn't build them out. I mean, what would be the point? And of course, it makes a lot of sense when you think of the whole Volkswagen idiocy.
Oh Jesus, yeah, I know.
And you think about the big emissions problems that China has. And the big pollution problems that China has, and you think that they're the middle class, the rise of the middle class in China, and people buying cars, well, they're going to push them towards electric cars as opposed to internal combustion cars, and that way solve several problems in one go. Absolutely.
And the other thing is it helps their economy as well. If they're they want 5 million electric vehicles, then they can build 5 million electric vehicles.
Yeah,
or more.
Yeah. They've got lots of companies doing that kind of stuff as well. And speaking of transportation, GM then are testing out a ride-sharing system in Manhattan, taking aim at Zipcar, the other ride-sharing platform of choice, and Uber, obviously. So Zipcar are where you rent the car, and Uber where you take a ride like a taxi. And GM, what they're doing is it's more taking aim at Zipcar than Uber. What you do is they have a fleet of, I think, 20 or 25 cars in Manhattan, and they have 200 car parking spaces for them throughout New York. It's over 200.
Here we go. This is the annoying. This is what happens with the annoying ads.
Yeah, the video comes on. Yeah, I got that too. So, I mean, listening to that interview, the guy on the right in that is from GM, and the interviewer is asking why they're doing it, because are they not cannibalizing their own business? And he's absolutely right. His answer is that, yeah, we are cannibalizing our own business, but somebody else is going to do it if we don't. Yeah. We're looking at millennials who are not buying cars right now. But in 2-3 years' time, when they move out to the burbs, maybe they will buy a car. And if they do, we want them to have had a good GM experience, and maybe they'll buy a GM car then if they've already tried one of ours in this kind of ride-sharing setup. If they have a good opinion of us. So it's interesting. I mean, Ford are doing something similar. It's not just GM. Ford is seeing the writing on the wall as well. So it's good, because this is all, steps towards the kind of breakdown of the car ownership model, which is coming. So the more of this we see, the better for everyone, I think.
Excellent. No, it is. It is, and it does it does help people. You know, the friend of mine, he has a car in London, but he rarely drives the car in London. But when he's shopping and things like that, there it does help. So you know, when you're trying to move stuff around, or you've got a load, and you know you've got more than you've got passengers and things. You know, there are times you need a car, and these types of services are actually just really, really good. So they are, and it makes sense for the manufacturer to do it. And then whenever you start to get into autonomous vehicles and things like that, there, you know, if they already have a footprint and a service, and then they can start to fold autonomous vehicles into that service as opposed to you driving them, then you know you already have a brand, you've got a reputation.
And that's the thing I see Tesla doing. As soon as they start get the Model 3 out, I'm convinced they'll start doing the Model 3 as an autonomous vehicle that you can do ride sharing with. You can sign up and start sharing your Tesla with you know, other people when you're not using it. I fully convinced that'll be a business model they'll roll out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And speaking of autonomous vehicles, it's not just the likes of Tesla, but also Daimler have now started testing self-driving 18-wheel trucks on roads in Germany. And they did it on the German Autobahn 8. It's just a test for now, but the fact is they have a vehicle capable of being tested as an autonomous vehicle on German Autobahns. This is a huge change. We've already seen BMW is doing battery electric 18-wheelers. So combine these two now, you've got one company producing battery electric 18-wheelers and another company starting to produce fully autonomous 18-wheel trucks. And you can see the writing is on the wall for long distance lorry drivers.
Yeah. Exactly. It's you know, it on the one hand, you know, whenever you look at some of the areas where these types of vehicles are deployed, you know, the big long, you know, the across Australia going to the mining towns where it's not just one
convoys.
Yeah, it's not just one cab and then one trailer behind it. You have multiple trailers coming behind it, and then the ice roads and things like that there. You know, by using autonomous vehicles, you can actually make it safer for people to do this. And then, you know, it also, it's probably also more fuel efficient as well. You know,
absolutely.
You know, the truck itself can, you know, you think about the difference. How much do you like driving at 50 miles an hour versus 70 miles an hour on the motorway? You know, the computer doesn't get bored.
Yeah, no, completely. You could be doing something else, working on something else. Yeah, totally. And speaking of safety, Volvo, known for their safety, they've said that they will take responsibility if their self-driving cars crash.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Which is huge. They've come out and they've said, look, we're going to be bringing out self-driving cars in autonomous mode, and we'll assume liability from anyone in the case that one of our vehicles is involved in an accident. So, I mean, it's kind of obvious. I mean, if you're sitting in a self-driving car and you're not driving and the car is in an accident, it's obviously not your fault, you know, unless the car says, "Wake up, Tom! Take control! Take control! Take control!" You know?
See, that I remember it was at a wedding in June, and we talked, myself and a couple of the guys, you know, at a wedding, you've had a few and all the rest of it, and you start getting philosophical and all the rest of it. We actually talked about the insurance industry and how
they're in big trouble
and things like that. Pardon?
They're in big trouble.
Yeah, but who? So who actually? Who, you know, when you have an autonomous vehicle, who's actually liable? You know, or, you know, as the owner of the car, do you have insurance? And in which case, you know, you've never written the code. You own the vehicle, but is it yours?
No, I suspect if you buy an autonomous vehicle, the insurance would be covered by the manufacturer.
Yeah,
it would have to be.
It would have to be, but it's one of those things, you know, we don't know yet. So we were we were hypothesizing, and we did come to that conclusion. It would have to be, you couldn't do it any other way.
And premiums will fall massively. So the insurance industry is in for a big shock when this happens, at least the car insurance industry.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And all our pensions and things like that there are in for a large shock as well, which is not all that great. But however,
not ideal. Yeah. True. Hopefully they're getting out of that, seeing the writing on the wall.
Well, we've already seen, insurance, not insurance, the pension companies actually starting to abandon, fossil fuels. We saw that. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And in that case, they're saving our pensions by so doing.
Oh yes.
Which is necessary, and in which case it won't take that much of time. But final story is out of Facebook, and again, this is kind of one which you kind of go, hey, this is great, but is it really?
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those double-edged sword ones. It's Facebook beaming the internet into sub-Saharan Africa. You see a map of it here, the kind of region they're covering, which is a hell of a lot of sub-Saharan Africa from this satellite. They're teaming up with Eutelsat to do it. What they'll be beaming down to them is a subset of the internet. It's not all of the internet. It will be free. They're beaming it directly to handsets, which will be interesting. I'm not sure how that'll work, but they'll be doing a number of services, including weather, news, health, and Facebook itself. Weather is obviously important. News is important, depending on where it comes from. Health is very important, obviously, and Facebook is as important as you make it. So it's a good start. I think the main thing that this will do, apart from helping people in sub-Saharan Africa get connectivity, the main thing it'll do is it'll give them an appetite for the internet and for data, which then they will, that'll force the incumbent data providers to drop their prices to try and get people on board. So when you've got competition there, I think suddenly the internet will open up in Africa as a consequence of this. I don't think everyone will end up using this, quite the opposite. I think everyone will shy away from this when the local telcos get their ass in gear and start providing decent internet at decent pricing. And suddenly we'll have an extra couple of billion people on the internet as a consequence.
Yeah, no, it's the double-edged sword thing is interesting, because I saw a comment on Twitter today. Some 30% of people don't realize that Facebook is not the internet. That's fairly scary. We're now bringing a lot of Africa along with the thought that Facebook is the internet. But this is not Facebook's first foray. They have, what is it, Free Basics or whatever. It's the internet.org. Right. It's internet.org. So
internet.org.
So
this is related to that. This is part of internet.org.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Oh, yes. Yes, you're right. Actually, it is. So I think it's great. I do think.
Yeah, no. I do as well. Like I say, it is a bit of a double-edged sword in terms of the limited access to data. It's the data that they think you should see. And for the most part, it's pretty decent. Like I say, it's weather, news, health, Facebook. They don't talk about educational stuff, but I assume that's in there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will give people an appetite. It will force the local telcos to drop the pricing. It will open up the internet in these places, which is long overdue.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. So whether it'll give access to some of the cloud services as well. Because it's one of those things that you can't predict what people will do with it. You really can't predict what people will come up with. So it'll be interesting to see what educationally and what the kids do with it.
Yeah.
What they're doing in terms of entrepreneurial activity.
Yeah, no, it'll be awesome. It will be awesome. It'll be fantastic to see. It really will. I'm looking forward to it. I am.
Absolutely.
Because these people have been offline, all their lives. So suddenly getting access is going to be tremendous.
Yeah.
And they have a completely different set of needs and a completely different context they're coming from. So God knows what they'll come up with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that's us for the week.
That's us for the week.
We managed
it is indeed. Only 34 minutes over, but you know, hey, we had an extra 2 weeks or 3 weeks of stories to get through as well. So we managed to squeeze 3 to 4 weeks into an hour and a half. I think that was pretty good going.
I think we did well there. I think we did well.
Alrighty then, we'll call that a show, and we'll say adios for another 7 days, and we shall see you all same time, same bat channel, same bat time next week. Have a good one, folks.
Thank you very much.